Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 12 May 2016 and it feels like it's been forever since I've done a knife review or a from the sharpening bench video. It seems like I've been busy selling crap lately. Not that the knives are crap, it's just not something I love to do on my YouTube channel. But we're going to get back to meat and potatoes tonight. And we're going to do it with a knife from ZT, and it is a real beast. What are we talking about? We're talking about the ZT0804 Charlie Foxtrot Rexford in DLC coating and CTS 204P blade steel. Oh, guys, this inspired me to get back in the From the Sharpening Bench review saddle, and here's why. You guys know that I have this thing about zero tolerance, don't you? Yeah, you know. I generally want to like their knives because I think they have really high quality machining and assembly, and they use pretty good hardware and good materials, and their fit and finish is always really good. And it seems like there's always one or two things about every one of their knives that just annoys me to no end. And the predecessor, the precursor to this knife, the ZT0801, and even to some degree the smaller ZT0808, had too many of those kinds of issues for me to be real jazzed about them. And you know, knives with issues that are, you know, over $150, some of them, gosh, up to $400, that bothers me. You know, they're not $60 FRN handled Spydercos with issues. They're expensive knives. Zero tolerances are. So this 0804, we will call it the 804, is really close in size to the 801. But it is lighter and it is better designed. It's a better cutter. It's better in hand. It has better mechanics. Oh yeah, and it's a lot more expensive. Let's kind of talk about what we have here. We have standard 2016 ZT fare in many areas. We have a pivot that suspends a blade on teeny tiny ball bearings, the KVT bearing system, which are a ring of 6 or 7 ball bearings and a little hard urethane race, and that's how the blade moves so freely, as it's on teeny tiny ball bearings. Also, we have a titanium frame lock with a steel lock bar insert, which is quite visible with all this blackness going on. You can see here that that insert also acts as an over travel stop, so I can't extend that lock bar too far, just far enough to make the blade freely drop. We have a blade, as I said, fashioned of CTS 204P, fashioned of 156 stock, and it's not that thick for very much, is it? Just back here at the base of the blade, and then we've got a near full flat grind and a swedge, and the swedge terminates about 3/4 of an inch from the tip, so that gives us a nice reinforced tip, but still plenty thin to be effective as a cutter. You guys know how I am about knives being able to cut. It's a big deal to me. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a broader Benchmade striker profile. Better cutter, less wedgy. Well done on this blade, and isn't it handsome? A lot more attractive in subtle ways than the 801 was. And as we go over this knife, I'm going to kind of try to explain the differences, the improvements. Now let's talk about this blade, because I have one little issue in specifications. ZT lists this blade at 4 inches in length. And guys, I have no idea how you would measure this knife to get 4 inches. From the tip of the blade, measuring directly to this most forward portion of the scale or the frame, it is 3 13/16. They only missed it by 187 thousandths. They're measuring like cold steel these days, I guess. The handle is 5 inches in length, so that would give us what, 8 13/16 in overall length. The handle is about 511 thousandths thick, so it's not overly thick by any means. It closes nicely blade into handle, so it's not too broad in this direction. The weight, again, they missed it by a little bit. They listed it 5.1 ounces. I measured it 5 times and it was 4.9 ounces every time. So really, really good. Not too heavy, not too big, still plenty of reach, great cutting ability. It is a flipper only, no thumb studs, no hole, no thumb plate. And look at this flipper, guys. And you'd think as many flipper knives as there are in May of 2016 when this video is being made, you would think that knife makers and manufacturers would have figured out how to properly design a flipper tab. But precious few of them get it right. And this knife just flat gets it right. You can light switch it, you can push button it. It has jimping on this forward canted top shelf. It's forward canted and slightly radiused. Let's see if I can get you this. There. The finger lies on it just beautifully. You can push button it. You can light switch it. The jimping in the flipper tab just perfectly digs into the meat of your finger. It is effortless and awesome. That's how a flipper tab should be. I've never understood big hook flipper tabs that kind of go like this with a big point out here and jimping on the back that you can't even reach. Never have gotten that, ever. Don't understand it. This is perfection. Now, while we're on the subject of flipping action, let's talk about that other crucial element. How does the detent affect the flipping of the knife? Well, I'm just going to grab this in a natural grip and flip it. I'm not worrying about where my finger is on the lock bar. In fact, I might grab it a couple different ways. Just that time I was pressing really pretty hard on the lock bar, which is kind of hard to do because of the clip, and we'll get into that. So point is, the detent, although plenty adequate for brisk flipping action, is not so strong that with any pressure on the lock bar, the ball buries in the hole in such a fashion that you cannot flip the knife open, which is a problem on many knives. The new style Hinderer detent, not ZT Hinderer, just production Hinderer knives. Some of them, I'll tell you what, guys, if I needed to deploy that knife to defend my life, I worry that under stress I might death grip that handle and not be able to get the knife open. On many of them, not an issue. I just gripped that knife about as hard as I could, and it flipped. So nicely done, ZT. Nicely done. I do not like flippers. This flipper I kind of like. It does have that other mechanical issue though. If you have your thumb where it really wants to be to disengage the lock bar, you'll not pass the detent. I do not understand why they can't start getting that right. So what you have to do is you have to back way up on the lock bar so the flipper tab passes your thumb. I just don't like ramming the corner of the knife past the detent ball. I think it will prematurely loosen the ball, and it's hard on the knife. So, yeah, but almost every flipper has that issue. It's one of the reasons I really don't like flippers. Don't have to worry about that with this knife. Yeah, you guys all wait for it, don't you? Every time I do a knife review on a flipper and a bearing knife, you know the moment's going to come, don't you? It always does, because I am such a one-trick pony. I have such myopic Sebenza fanboy vision and thinking that I must compare every single knife I review to a Chris Reeve. Oh, wait a minute, that's not a Sebenza. It's an Umnumzan, which I thought I would sort of just bring out for comparison, because they're kind of shaped alike, aren't they? They got a lot of the same lines, and they're really almost the same size in handle length and in blade length, just a fraction shorter for the Umnum. They're about the same thickness. The Umnumzan is 1/10 of an ounce lighter than the 804. And by the way, just so you know, just lay them both down and open them. Yeah, well, those flippers are so much faster, aren't they? No, they're not. I love my thumb studs. Okay, enough of that. So as flippers go, really, really good flipper. Now let's talk about ergonomics. How is it in hand? And you guys know a lot of flipper knives with this big old finger guard choil sometimes get a little obtrusive in hand. Let's look at the saber grip, and no jimping up top. Don't need it. Where's the jimping from the flipper tab? Well, it's here, but it's also here. That really kind of holds the index finger nicely, and you got this big old guard. You're not going to ever go forward on that knife, never. And a very comfortable saber grip. Forward pinch grip, it's okay. Not super comfortable, but this isn't really a fine cutting task knife. Could be, but it's more of a tactical knife. In the hammer grip, really good. Really good. The handle is generous enough that this grip doesn't pinch the fingers together and ram the index finger into the flipper tab. It's really quite comfortable. Very hand-filling. Draw cut grip, again. No intrusion on the web of my hand from the flipper tab. Really good. Reverse grip. Pretty good. Again, lots of real estate there. And in this sort of vertical draw cut grip, not great. The point of the pommel area of the knife makes an impression, as you can tell. Again, not a grip you're probably going to use this knife in a lot. So ergo's pretty good. How about this handle? Notice how sterile it is. Of course, we do have to emblazon the clip with the ZT logo, but other than that, oh wait, we did it again. USA made on that pivot. We're going to have to talk about that pivot, aren't we? Yes, we are. So, I really like the envelope, the package, the way the knife works. Now let's talk about some differences between this and the 801, other than less chunky, a little bit lighter weight, much better slicing geometry on the blade, better looking blade. My other issue with the 801, besides the billboarded up milling on the handle, was it used that double-sided custom looking pivot where both sides of the hardware, the exposed hardware, looked the same, but the female side was not restrained in the handle, and no matter how much blue Loctite you use, some of them just won't stay tight. You know, that flipping action with that blade running into the stop pin and the shock on the mechanism, it just makes the pivot come loose. And rather than going back to our old hex female side, we've done this nice D-shaped head. The barrel isn't D-shaped, but the head is. That's, I guess, a little nicer than a hex. And it gave us ample room to etch USA made. How could that be a bad thing, huh? I like it. I really like it. And the back side, the male side, is it looks like the same male side as the 808, that sort of beveled, smooth screw. Love it. Now let's talk about construction. Of course, we have a shouldered but not screwed in stop pin. That's a locating pin for structural integrity. The pivot is obviously a locating pin. Nicely, tightly slip fitted through both halves of the handle. By the way, no liner on that CF side. Did you notice that? That contributes to our lightweight. Then we got this back spacer, and I can't tell what it is. It might be G10. It could be aluminum. I don't know what it is. Some of you guys might know. But what do we see here? A couple rather small torque screws holding the back of the knife together, screwed into the titanium frame directly. No female cup type barrels going through there. How hard would it be? I mean, really, it's a $280 knife. Why do they do this? There's always something. And while we're here, let's look. Because evidently in the man jewelry era of modern folders, somebody heard him say 50 or 60 times that he's just not impressed with an expensive knife unless it has a machined, sculpted titanium pocket clip. Because he doesn't feel like the knife makes him feel rich enough or something. I don't know. If it has a flat stock spring clip. By the way, best pocket clip on earth, unusable pocket clip, just so you know. I've tried with a pair of khaki shorts and I've tried with a pair of blue jeans, and I'm here to tell you it is impossible to put this knife in a pocket one-handed. It's nearly impossible to do it holding the pocket with one hand and jamming the knife down with the other. It almost has to be pulled up, which good luck, by the way, to insert the knife. But we do have a sculpted, machined billet titanium pocket clip. So we got that going for us. Now, here's my beef, and it is a beef. Kai Kershaw ZT has a parts bin full of really good, high quality, effective pocket clips. But we had to do this, I guess, so people feel comfortable spending $280 on a knife that probably should sell for $200, $225. But so this clip is more expensive, they tell us, and makes the knife less functional. And in order to do that, to save pennies, we used Bush League construction on the back of the knife. Now, is it ever going to be a problem? I doubt it. You know, I made the same complaint about the 808. What I'm talking about is we got a backspacer that would fall out of the knife if you took the screws out. Nothing locating it this direction. Nothing holding the two halves of the knife. Orienting them in a fixed fashion this way. The only locating hardware are these two very close together items, pivot and stop pin. That's a long knife for only having two very close together points of location. Just saying. And having said all that, we have a knife that's centered perfectly. So obviously very precisely machined. But why couldn't we just use a parts bin clip and use some good locating hardware back here? You know, something like this. Yeah. Okay, that's enough of my rant. It went on way too long. That clip, however, is positionable on either side, and I would imagine I should have looked because there's nothing in that carbon fiber, no liners. How are we going to screw a clip into that, boys? Do we have a... Yes, we do. We have a couple nuts recessed into that carbon fiber to accept the clip screws. Nicely done. Nicely done. So all in all, what do we think, guys? What do we think? Well, we think with a couple, standard ZT issues, it's so frustrating for me. No matter how much I like a knife when I take it out of the box, if it's one of theirs, the more I look at it and try to figure out what they did and why, I always come across something that just makes me go, come on, really? And this one's no exception, but you know what? It's all right, because these knives are going to sell, and they should. I know my customer and my buddy Lex just ordered one of these today, the same day I'm making this video. And I don't want you to get any trepidation, Lex. It's really quite a nice knife. I didn't even talk about that other thing that bugs me, did I? Oh yeah. Not a good way to finish the base of an edge. And the more it gets sharpened, the worse it's going to look, because it's going to start recurving. But hey, that's how Todd Rexford likes to design them. He's the designer, I'm just the guy who works on them. Who am I to judge? But all in all, pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. This one going to my friend Joseph. First time you've seen this knife, Joseph, if you're watching this video. You're going to like it. I promise. That is all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember the Word and Joseph's ZT0804CF are sharp.